Welcome to today's video, in which we will dive deep into a topic that has sparked significant debate and discussion in both spiritual and recreational circles: the spiritual consequences of smoking marijuana, or cannabis, as it's often referred to. This is a subject that has become increasingly relevant as more people seek to explore its effects on not just the body and mind, but also on the soul and spirit. We are going to take a closer look at how smoking marijuana might influence your spiritual journey and whether it helps or hinders your growth as a person. Now, why does this topic matter? Well, cannabis has become more accessible than ever, especially with increasing legalization across the globe. And while many view it as just a recreational drug, there is a growing community that believes it holds the potential to enhance spiritual experiences. On the other hand, others argue that it might cause confusion or disconnection from one's true spiritual self, and that's what we're going to explore today. The goal of this video is to uncover the deeper spiritual implications of using marijuana, to understand whether it leads to enlightenment, or if it creates barriers that prevent you from achieving true spiritual clarity. So whether you're someone who has used cannabis for spiritual purposes, or simply curious about its effects, this video is for you. Let's dive in. To begin, let's first understand what marijuana or cannabis is. Marijuana comes from the cannabis plant, and its primary components, the tetrahydrocannabinol and CBD cannabidiol, are responsible for its effects on the body and mind. That is the psychoactive compound that produces the high feeling. While CBD is non-psychoactive and is often used for its calming and therapeutic properties, people consume cannabis in various forms, smoking it in joints or pipes, vaporizing it, using edibles, or applying oils and creams, and each method can affect the body in different ways. The use of marijuana has a long history, with evidence dating back thousands of years. Ancient cultures, including those in China and India, used cannabis for medicinal, spiritual, and recreational purposes. In some cultures, cannabis was believed to have sacred properties, used in rituals or as an aid to meditation and spiritual practices. For example, in Hinduism, cannabis was offered to the god Shiva as a form of devotion, and among Rastafarians, marijuana is considered a sacrament used to enhance spiritual connection and facilitate deep reflection. In modern times, cannabis is widely known for its recreational use, with many individuals seeking it out for its ability to help them relax, relieve stress, or simply enjoy a heightened sense of pleasure. However, in recent years, there has been a growing interest in the potential of marijuana for spiritual purposes. Many people are beginning to explore whether marijuana can help them access deeper levels of consciousness, enhance their meditation practice, or even foster a closer connection to a higher power. But despite its growing popularity in the spiritual community, it's important to recognize that marijuana is still a substance that affects the body and mind in significant ways. The short-term effects can include altered perception of time, heightened sensory experiences, and changes in mood. Some individuals may experience increased feelings of relaxation or euphoria, while others may feel anxious or paranoid. These effects can vary greatly from person to person, depending on factors like dosage, strain, and individual tolerance. While cannabis is often marketed as a natural, harmless substance, it's crucial to approach it with awareness and caution, especially when using it for spiritual purposes. Understanding the chemical makeup of marijuana and how it interacts with the brain is key to fully grasping the potential spiritual consequences. Its ability to alter consciousness means that it can open doors to new experiences, but it can also cloud judgment, disrupt focus, and even disconnect individuals from their spiritual center if not used mindfully. As we continue, we will explore how these physical and psychological effects translate into the spiritual realm, and whether marijuana can truly support a person's spiritual growth, or whether it creates challenges along the way. Now, let's explore the spiritual impact that cannabis use can have. When we think about the effects of marijuana, we often focus on the physical and psychological changes it brings, but the spiritual consequences are often overlooked. Cannabis has the ability to alter perception, making us feel more connected to our surroundings, our emotions, and sometimes even a sense of the divine. For some, this heightened awareness can seem like a spiritual awakening, a doorway to new insights and experiences. But for others, it might lead to confusion or a false sense of connection. One of the most significant ways cannabis affects the spirit is by altering our perception of reality. When we smoke or ingest marijuana, our senses can become heightened. Colors might seem more vibrant, sounds may feel richer, and emotions may feel more intense. For some, this altered perception can open up a deeper understanding of the universe, or a sense of oneness with everything around them. In spiritual circles, this heightened awareness is sometimes referred to as expanded consciousness, and it can lead to profound moments of clarity or insight. However, there is also a downside. When our perception is altered, it becomes difficult to distinguish between what is real and what is the effect of the drug. The lines between genuine spiritual insight and the illusion created by the cannabis high can blur, which raises the question: are we truly experiencing spiritual growth or simply chasing a fleeting sense of enlightenment? This is one of the central concerns when using marijuana in a spiritual context. It's easy to become addicted to the heightened sense of awareness, believing it to be a key to deeper truths, when in fact, it may simply be a temporary shift in perception that doesn't lead to lasting change. Another aspect to consider is how marijuana impacts inner peace. Many people turn to cannabis to relax or escape stress, and while it may temporarily soothe the mind, it can also disrupt the state of inner peace necessary for spiritual growth. True inner peace comes from within, cultivated through practices like meditation, mindfulness, and self-reflection. Relying on an external substance like marijuana to achieve peace can lead to dependence when the substance is no longer available or effective. The individual might struggle to maintain the calmness or clarity they once felt. This could lead to a disconnection from their true self and prevent the development of lasting inner peace. Furthermore, cannabis use can sometimes lead to a sense of disconnection from one's spiritual practice. For individuals who use marijuana regularly, the reliance on the substance can shift the focus away from the deep internal work that spiritual practices require. Instead of building genuine spiritual strength through discipline, focus, and patience, the individual may become dependent on the altered state that cannabis provides. This could hinder the development of true spiritual resilience and lead to a false sense of spiritual progress. While some might argue that cannabis allows for a deeper connection to the divine or to a higher power, it's important to ask whether this connection is truly authentic. Spiritual teachings across different traditions emphasize the importance of achieving a direct, unmediated connection with the divine, without the need for substances to alter consciousness. Many spiritual paths encourage self-awareness, self-discipline, and meditation as ways to open up to higher truths. Cannabis, while potentially useful in certain contexts, could be seen as a shortcut that prevents one from doing the necessary inner work. So, while marijuana may open certain spiritual doors, it's crucial to examine whether those doors are leading to genuine spiritual growth or simply providing an illusion of spiritual connection. As we continue, we will look at the long-term spiritual consequences and whether cannabis use ultimately supports or hinders the journey toward enlightenment. When we think about the long-term spiritual consequences of cannabis use, it's important to reflect on how consistent use can shape not just our immediate experience, but our ongoing spiritual journey. One of the most significant long-term impacts is the potential for dependency. As with any substance, the more frequently we rely on marijuana to alter our state of mind, the more likely we are to become dependent on it. Dependency doesn't just affect the body. But it affects the spirit as well. When we rely on an external substance for spiritual connection or peace, we lose our ability to tap into these qualities naturally. The dependency can undermine the foundation of personal spiritual practice. This is where the issue of autonomy comes in. Spiritual growth requires independence. It's about being able to access clarity, peace, and wisdom from within, without the need for external aids. The more we depend on marijuana, the less we're able to experience the natural sense of autonomy. This loss of spiritual autonomy can result in feeling disconnected from one's true self, because we start to rely on something outside ourselves to feel whole or complete. Over time, this can hinder our ability to truly grow, and we may find ourselves caught in cycles of searching for external fixes instead of cultivating an internal sense of peace and fulfillment. Another long-term consequence is the potential for disconnection from the present moment. A central theme in most spiritual practices is being fully present, whether through meditation, mindfulness, or prayer. Being able to connect with the present moment without distraction is a key aspect of spiritual clarity. But marijuana can sometimes take us out of the present moment. Instead of helping us connect more deeply to the now, it can distort our perception, leading us to become distracted or lost in our thoughts. Over time, this can lead to a habit of mentally escaping, rather than facing the challenges and emotions that arise in the present moment. Furthermore, when we rely on marijuana for spiritual connection or insight, we might start to confuse temporary highs with true spiritual experiences, while cannabis can heighten sensory experiences and provide a sense of euphoria. This is often short-lived and doesn't lead to lasting spiritual transformation. True spiritual growth comes from consistent inner work, which includes facing our fears, embracing our challenges, and being present with ourselves and others. Relying on a substance for those moments of clarity might prevent us from developing the deep inner wisdom and resilience that is required for long-term spiritual development. Additionally, cannabis use may lead to a diminished sense of discipline in many spiritual paths. Discipline is a cornerstone, whether it's the discipline to meditate daily, practice gratitude, or engage in service to others. These practices are what build spiritual strength and character. But when we use cannabis regularly, we might begin to rely on it as a shortcut, using it to feel connected or peaceful instead of putting in the effort required for genuine growth. Over time, this lack of discipline can cause us to stagnate spiritually, as we avoid the hard but necessary work that is essential to personal and spiritual development. In the long run, this lack of discipline can result in a spiritual plateau, where the individual feels stuck, not moving forward, or experiencing the same depth of connection to their higher self or to the divine. The initial sense of peace or clarity that cannabis provides can fade, and what's left is a dependence on the substance that no longer yields the same results, leaving the individual feeling unfulfilled and disconnected. Lastly, long-term cannabis use can create an imbalance between the body, mind, and spirit. As we've discussed, true spiritual growth requires harmony between all aspects of the self. The physical body, the mind, and the spirit must work in unison for personal transformation to occur. When we rely on marijuana, we risk disrupting that balance. The body and mind might become conditioned to seek an external substance to feel right, leading to a disconnection from the natural balance that spiritual practices aim to cultivate. As we continue, we'll explore whether there are ways to use cannabis mindfully without causing these long-term consequences, or if it's ultimately a path that prevents deep spiritual development. Now, let's explore how to use cannabis mindfully in spiritual practices. It's important to acknowledge that while marijuana has its potential drawbacks, it can also be used in a way that supports spiritual growth. The key is in how it is approached and the intention behind its use. Using cannabis mindfully involves being fully aware of the effects it has on both the body and the spirit, and being intentional about when and why it is used. The first step is to have a clear and focused intentio. Before using cannabis, take some time to reflect on why you want to incorporate it into your spiritual practice. Are you seeking deeper meditation, clarity, or connection? Or is it simply a way to enhance your sensory experience? Having a clear intention helps prevent the mind from wandering aimlessly, and it creates a more focused and purposeful experience. This intention can guide the session, whether it's a meditation, a prayer, or a moment of quiet reflectio, and can help keep you from using cannabis as a crutch to escape or avoid uncomfortable emotions. Another aspect of mindful use is moderation. Like any substance, cannabis should be used in moderation. If used excessively, it can lead to the very dependency and disconnection we are trying to avoid. Moderation allows you to maintain control over your experience and helps ensure that you are not relying on cannabis to reach spiritual states that can be achieved through other means. Spiritual practices should be centered around discipline, self-awareness, and presence. If cannabis use becomes too frequent or habitual, it could begin to disrupt the balance and hinder the work that needs to be done internally. It's also important to create the right environment for using cannabis in your spiritual practice. The setting plays a huge role in how the experience unfolds. Choose a quiet, comfortable space where you won't be distracted or interrupted. This space should promote peace and relaxation. Ideally, it should be a space that you associate with your spiritual practice, whether that's a meditation room, an altar, or a peaceful corner of your home. By setting up your environment mindfully, you allow the energy around you to support the spiritual work you're about to do. Mindful cannabis use also involves tuning into your body's response. Everyone's body reacts differently to cannabis, and it's essential to listen to your body during the experience. Pay attention to how you feel physically, mentally, and emotionally. If at any point you begin to feel uncomfortable, anxious, or disconnected, it may be time to stop or take a break. A mindful user recognizes when the experience has reached its limit and doesn't push past it just for the sake of a deeper or more intense experience. This kind of self-awareness is crucial for maintaining a healthy relationship with cannabis. It's also important to be aware of the strain of cannabis you are using. Different strains have different effects. Some may be more calming and conducive to meditation, while others might be more energizing or stimulating. When using cannabis for spiritual purposes, it's best to choose a strain that supports the kind of experience you're hoping to have. A strain high in CBD might be ideal for those seeking relaxation and mindfulness, while a strain with a balance of that and CBD might be better for those looking for a more introspective experience. The key is to choose a strain that aligns with your goals for that specific session. Another helpful practice is to integrate cannabis use with other spiritual practices. Cannabis can enhance certain spiritual activities, such as deep meditation, yoga, or breathwork. When used mindfully, it can serve as a tool to deepen concentration, open the heart, or clear mental blockages. For example, before a meditation session, using cannabis can help you relax and focus more deeply on your breath or mantra, or it can be used to enhance the sensory experience during a mindful walk in nature. Integrating cannabis into these practices allows it to complement the work you're already doing, instead of becoming the focus of the practice itself. Lastly, always make sure to reflect on your experiences after using cannabis. Take time to journal or meditate on the insights you gained during the experience. Did the cannabis help you reach a deeper understanding or clarity, or did it bring up emotions or thoughts that need to be addressed? Reflecting on your experience allows you to integrate the lessons learned and continue to grow spiritually. It helps you stay connected to your intention and prevents the experience from becoming just another moment of escapism. Using cannabis mindfully in spiritual practices can be a powerful tool when done with awareness, moderation, and a clear sense of intention. It's not about using cannabis as a shortcut to spiritual growth, but rather as a tool to support your existing practices. With mindfulness and respect. Cannabis can help you deepen your connection to yourself, the universe, and your higher power. In conclusion, the spiritual consequences of using cannabis are complex and multifaceted. While some people might experience heightened awareness or moments of clarity, it's crucial to remember that relying on any substance for spiritual connection can be problematic in the long run. Cannabis, like any tool, has its place, but it should never replace the deep, consistent inner work that is essential for true spiritual growth. Using cannabis mindfully can enhance certain spiritual practices, but it must be approached with caution, moderation, and a clear intention. Ultimately, the most important thing is to stay connected to your true self and your inner wisdom. Spiritual growth comes from developing a deep sense of inner peace, self-awareness, and discipline, which cannot be achieved through external substances alone. If you choose to use cannabis as part of your spiritual journey, do so with respect and mindfulness, but always remember that true transformation comes from within, and that lasting spiritual development requires dedication, patience, and consistent practice.